coverage continues on NewsNation Now, with more than 1 million people told to evacuate from their homes in Gaza ahead of a possible ground offensive from Israeli forces seeking out the Hamas leadership in Gaza. Gaza's been under heavy siege now for days, and the border crossing between Gaza and Egypt, the Rafah Crossing, as far as we know, remains closed at this hour. Here with more on all of this from the IDF is Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus. We thank you for coming back on with us today. Lieutenant Colonel, if I could start just broadly with an operational update on what's happening right now on the ground, what would you tell us?
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm in Tel Aviv. About 2 hours ago was the last air raid siren and the last interceptions over the sky of Tel Aviv. So there is still rocket fire towards Israeli cities and civilians. Combat is ongoing in the Gaza Strip. We continue to strike military infrastructure that belongs to Hamas. We're seeking to dismantle their military capabilities. We're hunting their commanders and striking and degrading all of their capabilities. It's a process, will take time. And as you said in the intro, we indeed asked civilians to evacuate south of Gaza City because we understand that that is going to be significant military operations there. And we really wish civilians to be out of that area for their own safety.
Are they moving as you requested? We'll look at that area on our map now. As we've told our viewers a number of times, the Gaza River here is the point of demarcation where people are being told to move from the north and move down to the south. What update can you give us on what's happening there, whether people are moving, whether Hamas is keeping them in place? What is the progress?
Yeah, the last official estimate we have is around 600,000 of 1.1 million, roughly, that indeed have made the very smart choice and gone south. We are aware of efforts by Hamas, both verbal and physical, and we've shown proof of it, roadblocks, and also a voice recording by a Gazan civilian who said that Hamas officials were confiscating car keys and vehicles, preventing people to flee. So there's an extensive effort here by Hamas to stop the flow of people south. Hopefully people will listen to reason and logic and understand that they need to make the best decision for themselves. What Hamas is trying to do is to keep the people there in order to use them as human shields.
So approximately 400,000 of those people are still there in that part of northern Gaza. How does that affect, or does it affect, the timeline for a possible Israeli ground offensive? What can you add today, knowing what you know now about the situation in Gaza?
When we plan military activities, and the timing of military activities is, of course, a result of many factors. There are physical factors like the ground, weather, and other physical conditions. Then there's the political, diplomatic, and of course, humanitarian considerations. So it's a mix of many things, many variables that are part of our decision making. And what we intend to do is for the area to be as clean as possible of civilians, that they're out of harm's way, for us to be able to commence significant military activities. Our aim at the end of this war is to completely dismantle Hamas and its military capabilities.
So you're not there yet, is that fair, sir? With 400,000 or so still in place, you're not where you want to be to commence those activities. Is that fair?
That, I think, would be a fair description. We are not, and we are hoping that the Palestinians will listen and do what's good for their own sake and not the political purposes of Hamas.
What if they don't? Then what?
They will have to move. There's no two ways about it. They will have to move in the interest of self-preservation. They need to move and to do the right thing, not to be used as victims by Hamas.
Are you putting a deadline on that at the moment?
We're helping. We're helping people move south. We are allowing a corridor, and we have been trying to incentivize people to go south by explaining to them that this is the right thing and the smart thing to do, not to fall victim to Hamas, but we have not put an official deadline on it yet.
Speaking of corridors, we had heard that maybe the Rafah Crossing, we can go back to the maps for this and look at that in the southern part of Gaza, Rafah Crossing down here, would maybe be open by now. As far as I know, it's not. Is that true, Lieutenant Colonel? Is there any progress that you can bring us on possibly getting civilians out and aid in through this Rafah Crossing into Egypt?
As far as I know, no. I'm not aware. I've seen reports of movement of trucks, but I am not aware of any official issue. It's a topic that is very important for internationals as well, for the U.S. We tried to coordinate the safe evacuation of U.S. nationals 2 days ago, together with Egypt, but that effort was blocked by Hamas. They simply refused to open the gate. I don't know what their considerations are, but that's what happened. So there's a lot going on, a lot of reports coming out. The bottom line is that we have said the civilians are not our enemy. We're aiming for Hamas, and we want to take down Hamas. The civilians should be smart and stay out of harm's way.
Understood.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.